We're optimistic, we're constructive, because we think the good news outweighs the risks. That's ultimately what being an investor is about. That's why we think it's so important to get invested, stay invested, and focus on where we see opportunities in a weak dollar in global equities and emerging market stocks and bonds. But the risk we're keeping the closest eye on, of course, is inflation, right? Because when you think about what could go wrong out there, we're still not past, the US trade tariff and trade deal negotiation. And look, the news cycle around that will give us quite a bit to think about over the coming couple of weeks and months. But what we're quite focused on is, where does the average US tariff end up? Because that's what worried financial markets back in April, where we almost saw what a worst case scenario could look like. In our view, the ultimate solution, after we go through a bit of back and forth through the rest of July and August, will be a lower number, which should keep markets happy, but it's quite possible we get a bit of volatility along the way. The most important thing for us is to look at any geopolitical event and say, what's the channel back to financial markets? And in the case of Middle East, the obvious one is oil prices. But what was interesting about this is that we saw a brief rise in oil prices, but it did not last. Because when you look back through history, right, I think the clue really sits in looking back at the past 50 years of history, where we've seen many examples of geopolitical conflict in the Middle East and in other regions. But what markets care about, and markets always have a narrower view of the world, right, is they were singularly focused on whether actual oil supply was likely to be disrupted. And I think that brief rise we saw towards $80, we never quite got there, was pricing in a non-zero chance or probability that, wait, maybe we need to pay some attention to this. But I think fortunately what we ended up experiencing is that while there is a geopolitical issue that is at hand, direct interruption of supplies did not happen.
Global market outlook is a tool that we use locally to help our clients who are looking to invest, or those who have invested, to get information as they continue to make investment decisions, as they continue to look at their portfolios, to leverage on opportunities where they can get good returns. This information periodically is shared, of course, with clients. A weakening dollar is a good opportunity. It's talked about equity markets being good, and bond markets also strengthening in some markets where clients should be looking out to invest in. Of course, every market is facing challenges today because of the risks that we all see, whether it's geopolitical risks that we are experiencing today. I think what is important is the response.